Good morning. In today's short gospel, Mark, author of the oldest and overall shortest gospel, says that the Spirit drove Jesus out into the desert. Then it goes on to say that there Jesus was tempted by Satan. This raises several questions. The first question is, why would God, the Holy Spirit, put God, the God and man Jesus, into that predicament of temptation? After all, Jesus said in the Lord's Prayer, "Lead us not into temptation." The second question is, why into the desert? The third question is, why is this the reading for today, the first Sunday of Lent? But perhaps the biggest is the fourth question: how do we avoid temptation? To understand the first question about Jesus' temptation, we turn to theologians who recognize that Jesus, the man, probably didn't realize his own divinity upon birth, but gradually became aware of it as he grew older. Since he was about to begin his public ministry, it seems timely that he understand his divinity. To do so required prayerful meditation upon his human tendencies. Perhaps we are being given a peek inside the mystery of the dance between the God and man of Jesus. An opportunity to imitate that dance within ourselves, since we also are human, yet have the Holy Spirit dwelling within us. Science can help us understand the issue of both Christ and our humanity. The human brain is 5% conscious and 95% unconscious. This division of brain function is good because, for example, if we had to be conscious of breathing, we would die quickly. But it can also be bad because we can naturally bury bad habits, prejudices, and false programs for happiness in the unconscious. St. Augustine recognized this when he said, "I cannot grasp all that I am." Coaxing out those tendencies into the conscious mind can be difficult. One way is to free the conscious mind from distractions in order to make room for the unloading of the unconscious mind's problems so the divine healer can help us. Put another way, our false self harbors our wrongful programs, and our true self harbors the loving God dwelling within us. The answer to the second question about why the desert involves some historical perspective. The Jews, including Jesus, were taught that evil spirits lived in the desert. This belief was so strong that excising those unclean spirits could involve elaborate and lengthy rites, incantations, incense, chants, gestures, and external objects. But Jesus came to change that. His demons may not necessarily have been objective, but internal to his human divine dance. This is clarified later in Mark's Gospel, which says, "Everything that goes into a person from outside cannot defile, but what comes out of a person, that is what defiles. From within people, from their hearts come evil thoughts. All these evils come from within, and they defile." The Jews in Jesus' time did not have the benefit of modern psychology. They knew about the temptations in the desert, but did not know about the divine healing of the unconscious. They probably could not have addressed the difference between desert and dessert, which just has an S for sweetness. One of my favorite sweet treats is dark chocolate. We have all appreciated enjoying a food that we like with our eyes closed to lessen distractions. My recent eating of chocolate when the doorbell rang demonstrates this point. After greeting the visitor, one part of my mind recognized that there was no enjoyment of the swallowed chocolate during that time due to the distraction of my conscious mind by the visitor. The reverse can also be true. When God wishes to visit us, we can be distracted by our ruminating mind's desires for food and other pleasures. This is the reason fasting accompanies prayer, since we can be distracted from our more important prayer, which is really our relationship with God. Jesus was sent into the desert not to be tempted, but to pray. The desert is the ideal place to avoid distractions. Almost no trees, animals, food, or water. What results is a better appreciation of what we do have. My diet normally does not include fast food hamburgers. But after returning from an assignment in the Arabian desert, the taste of a hamburger was better than ever. This is a classic example of fasting followed by feasting. Indeed, this is part of why we fast, to better enjoy what we do have. The idea is to let go of asking for more and instead asking for less. Then what we discover is that less is really more. Therein lies the answer to the third question of why today's gospel is read on this first Sunday of Lent. It leads us to the death of our false self by fasting from distractions in the desert to the resurrection of our true self at Easter. Christ showed us the way by first going into the desert to prepare the way for conquering death by his resurrection. The desert fathers and mothers found the answer to the fourth and most critical question about how we avoid temptations. In the 4th century Egypt, they went into the desert to try to imitate Christ. We know about their journey because a news reporter, St. John Cassian, went there to interview them. Sorry, he wasn't with CNN or Fox. He documented his interviews with them in the longest work in Christian antiquity entitled The Conferences. It was one of the main resources used by St. Benedict to write these Rules of Benedict, mentioned in Monsignor Rossi's bulletin letter today, which forms the basis of life in the monasteries and convents even up to this day. Notably, the most remote monastery in the U.S. is a Benedictine monastery in New Mexico, aptly named Christ in the Desert. In Cassian's Conferences 9 and 10, he describes how to pray using one word as a way of letting go of even our own ruminating thoughts, since they can be one of our main distractions. So how do we apply Christ's practical lessons? This Lenten season and always, will we lessen the distractions of food, cell phones, Facebook, Twitter, FaceTime, in order to leave room for God? Are we prepared to spend some quiet time alone to allow the indwelling divine healer to make us conscious of our hurts and faults? By acknowledging our hurts, such as childhood physical, psychological, and spiritual abuse, we can start on the road to forgiveness. By acknowledging our faults, such as the hurting things we have done to others, we can start to change our ways and allow God to love us. Do we permit God to teach us the real reasons why we snap at our loved ones without any apparent conscious reason? In short, can we allow the divine healer to give us the opportunity to pass from human self-condemnation to human union with the divinity within us, which gives true lasting peace?